Our first dive into the pool of guys who could be the next head basketball coach at the University of Virginia, Chris Graham, Augusta Free Press. You may have read the column I wrote this weekend. You may not have. You should have. You should still go back and read it. We'll go over it here. The feeling around UVA basketball before the season was that the interim coach, Ron Sanchez, would need to get the team into the NCAA tournament to put himself in position to secure the job on a full-time basis. Based on the preseason prognostications, it looked like, the feeling was he was going to be able to do that. But with Virginia sitting at 7-5 here at the end of the Christmas break, the writing is on the wall on that point now, and the word is circulating about an organized behind-the-scenes effort involving a group of heavy hitters working to identify the next head coach. I know who they are. I'm not going to tell you who they are. I know that this is a group of people that it's like a dream team of people who are working to put this together. Um, the candidates I'm about to present to you are candidates that were presented to me. I think I may have added one name to the list. I won't even tell you who that is just to preserve the sanctity of the process. But no, this is something that is very much an ad hoc effort, but also um, an unsanctioned sanctioned effort. Maybe I can say that. Um, at least one of the names being vetted, I'm kind of hinting to you here some things, though, is an obvious reach. Others are interesting in terms of being diamonds in the rough, a la Tony Bennett back when he was at Washington State, and was on practically nobody's radar when he got the job back in 2009. So without further ado, here we go. Here is the courtesy candidate first to start with, Richie McKay at Liberty. You can guess who is seeking the courtesy of Richie being on the list. McKay 59 is on the list because he served as Tony Bennett's top assistant for 6 seasons before going back to Liberty in 2015. Liberty stumbled to an 18-14 record last year, which broke a string of seven straight 20-plus win seasons, which included a 29-7 record in 2018-2019 and a 30-4 mark in 2019-2020. Unfortunately, that's the year that was cut short by the COVID pandemic ending that season before the NCAA tournament. We'd like to have seen what that team could have done. Now, the advantages for Richie McKay, he's intimately familiar with the culture at UVA. Particularly, he's familiar with the challenges of recruiting to UVA. His age would be one drawback. He's 59 years old. If you're thinking about building, long term, that would be a drawback. I didn't write this in the column, but another drawback would be the similarity in play. And there's a feeling that we kind of just need to get away from the Tony Bennett style. No offense to Bennett, it won a lot of games, but the style itself seems to kind of have played itself out at the Power Four level in terms of, it needs guys to be a part of a program for 3 to 4 years to be able to learn the intricate offense, the pack line defense. And in this day and age with the transfer portal NIL, it's just hard to have guys around that long. You're changing your roster year to year. Another drawback would be he's been away from the ACC for a decade now, and it's not like he's had a lot of chance to learn how to deal with life in this cutthroat NIL transfer portal era down at the Conference USA level. So that would be a drawback there. Now, here is the reach candidate. And I want to emphasize to you, this is not the guy that I'm throwing in the list. No, this was given to me as being someone that the search committee very much thinks is a possibility, and it's Matt Painter at Purdue. Okay, then I didn't come up with this one. I want to emphasize, and I don't see this one happening at all. Painter, Purdue, 54 is a Purdue alum. He's been the head coach at his alma mater since 2005, so this is year 20. He's 455 and 207 at Purdue. He's coming off a national runner-up finish. He's pretty well paid. He's making just under $5 million this year. For reference, he's making about 800,000 more than Tony Bennett was set to make this year in his new contract. Money is going to be a hurdle, though. I've been told that it's, whatever Virginia needs, whatever the folks decide they need, they're going to get. So if it's going to take 5 or 6 or 7 million, they'll get it. So money alone is not going to maybe be able to lure him, but it's not also not going to be an issue if that would be the issue. The rationale behind reaching out to Painter's agent is, and again, this is what was explained to me, and I could kind of buy it. I mean, it's an argument and the argumentative part of it, but okay. Purdue is forever going to be treated as a second-class citizen in the Big Ten. This is part of the argument. And so he might have a sense that he's done what he can do there. Whereas at Virginia, he could build on what Bennett has done to insert the program into the conversation with Duke and UNC at the top of the ACC. Virginia, let's say what it is, 6 regular season titles in the last 11 seasons. It'll be the last 12 after this year. two ACC tournament titles, the 2019 national title. I like the sales pitch. I just don't know that it's going to have a chance of landing, but hey, whatever. The intriguing idea guy is Shaka Smart at Marquette. Smart, 47, formerly, as we know, of VCU, which he led to a Final Four. He spent some years at Texas, didn't go so well. He's making just under $3 million at Marquette per season, and so he's not going to be priced out of the market. He rather famously struggled at Texas, 109 and 86 in 6 seasons, exactly zero NCAA tournament wins there. Now at Marquette, he's rehabilitated the reputation. He took Marquette to a Sweet 16 last year. He has 29 and 27 wins over the past two. The problem he had at Texas, in addition to just struggling in general to win games, was being perpetually second fiddle to a place with a big time football program. That would not be an issue at UVA. UVA plays football or Power Four football, but football's second fiddle with the alums, with the money people, etc., to the basketball program. It may be hard for Smart not to at least take the call from Virginia if his number were to be dialed, and I expect it will be. Marquette's a good job. He's done a good job there. But the folks at Virginia are going to be throwing the kitchen sink. I mentioned money's not an object. So in terms of salary, budget for staff, for NIL, if Shaka Smart wants this job, it could very well be his. So I'm thinking that this is something that needs to be looked at more there. Another one that needs to be looked at more is Ryan Odom at VCU. Now, Odom is his name's been out there a lot publicly. A lot of folks just assume that there's a lot that makes sense about this move. I'll go into that. He's 50 years old. He's getting the most external buzz. So I'll throw that out there. External buzz. You remember the name first because he was the coach at UMBC when UMBC pulled that shocking upset back in 2018. For some reason, he hung around there for 3 more seasons, and they weren't very good seasons. I think credit to him, he wanted to build on what he had done there. It's hard to do that at that level. He did eventually, work his way into another job at Utah State out in the Mountain West. Had a good second season there that parlayed into then VCU hiring him. He's now in year two, year one in the NIT. The other side of this that some folks know, I bet a lot of folks watching this know, if not everybody watching this knows, he literally grew up in the UVA basketball program. His dad, Dave Odom, was Terry Holland's top assistant for a long, long time. A lot of folks, including I think Dave and Terry both, think that Dave should have been the coach when Terry stepped down in 1990. He was not. He was at Wake Forest and went to South Carolina and had good runs at both those schools. But Ryan Odom was a ball boy for the team. I mean, he was around for a long, long time. His VCU team can be fun to watch. I didn't mention that with Marquette. Obviously, the Shaka Smart, coaches a fun style of basketball. Ryan Odom at VCU has his team ranked ninth in adjusted defense. His 2022-2023 team at Utah State ranked 16th in adjusted offense. So he can coach both sides of the floor. Um, I'm not feeling this one, but there's a lot to this. There's a lot to this one. So a name that I had not even thought of until it was brought up to me, Bucky McMillan at Samford. This is the name that's getting the most buzz internally. Okay, so I said externally, it's the folks who are commenting on social media and message boards or Ryan Odom. Bucky McMillan among the insiders has got the inside track, and it seems like to me in lots of ways. McMillan is only 41 years old. He's won 20 plus in each of the past 3 years, including a 29 and 6 record last year. Now, Samford is at the SoCon level, so yeah, it's a small conference. His teams play up tempo, which would be a selling point for fans and donors. I mean, it'd be a selling point for me after 15, now 16 years of covering Embrace the Pace. The drawback is not a lot of experience at the top level. Before getting the job at Sanford in 2020, he was a high school coach for 12 seasons down in the Birmingham, Alabama area. And so the light resume would make me worry. This is just me, but it would make me worry about his ability to hire an ACC level staff. And at this level, your staff is as important as who the head coach is. So that would concern me just a little bit there. Um, One other name among what am I calling this list? This is the wheelhouse list of mine, is Mitch Henderson from Princeton. Just saying the name Princeton tells you, why there'd be some idea of fit here. Henderson is 49 years old. He's 241 and 126 in 14 seasons at Princeton, a Sweet 16 appearance in 2023. His last three seasons have played out to a 70 and 21 record, so he's averaging 23 wins a year over the last 3 years. The advantage for Henderson would be experience recruiting to and winning at an academic school. He would have to feel like that recruiting to Virginia was easy, considering he's recruiting to Ivy League, where NIL is not going to be a player. You've also still got to get the guys into an Ivy League school. So he would probably feel like he's taking the prophylactic off and be able to go out and do what he wants to do. Um, I'm calling these next two guys wild cards, but they're not wild cards from the internal perspective. I'm calling them wild cards more from what most of you would think of as wild cards. These are not names that you're familiar with. I'll go first to Drew Valentine. One of the guys in the search committee is really a big fan of Drew Valentine. He's at Loyola Chicago. He's only 33 years old. He's on the list because of getting a lot of push from one of the guys. Despite the young age, this is his 12th season as a college coach. Stops as an assistant at Michigan State in Oakland, which is his alma mater, Oakland up there in Michigan, which is a school. But didn't they beat Kentucky in the tournament a couple years ago and get to the Sweet Six? I think they got to the Sweet 16. Maybe it was last year. Yeah, I just remember that name from recent basketball lore. Valentine was an assistant on the 2018 Loyola Chicago Final Four team that you might remember. He took over as head coach in 2021 after Porter Moser, the head coach who led Loyola to the Final Four that year, he left to take the job at Oklahoma. Valentine's first Loyola team was 25 and 8. His next team was 10 and 21, but last year rebounded to 23 and 8. His teams played D, ranking top 30 nationally in each of the two good seasons that he's had there. And what I'm told is he is looked at as an ace recruiter. And just imagine what he would do, I'm told, at the ACC level. The last name I'll throw out, I didn't write a lot about in the column, but I'm going to be writing more soon. Bob Ritchie at Furman, 41 years old, led Furman to that first round upset of UVA in 2023. I was sitting there in Orlando, right behind Kevin Harlan, when he almost fell off his chair into me when the Furman kid stole the ball at half court, passed it to the other Furman kid who made the three with 2 seconds left. Yeah, that one. For a young guy, he's in his eighth season as a D1 head coach. He's won 168 and 71, so he's averaging over 20 wins a year. After a run of five 20-plus win seasons in 6 years between 2017 and 2023. Furman was 17 and 16 last year, but at this writing, they're 12 and 1 in 2024, going into 2025. I got a long email from a former longtime college assistant who is pretty familiar with the Furman program and says that one that Bob Ritchie doesn't really isn't really the kind of guy who's looking for another job. He's really happy at Furman, I'm told. But on the other hand, this assistant went into great detail, which I'll be sharing pretty soon, I guess, about his coaching chops. And after reading an email, trading emails back and forth with the person who was in contact with me, I'm becoming a Bob Ritchie supporter. So to a point where okay, so Furman is also a SoCon team. Both Furman with Bob Ritchie as the candidate and Bucky McMillan at Samford, they both play at VMI just about an hour down the road, where I used to do a lot of broadcasting work coming up in January and February. Scott German and I are talking about making road trips down to watch the games, cover the games, and then, be part of the post game talking with these guys just for a few minutes and getting a sense of their coaching philosophies, of course, how those particular games go, and, just kind of get a sense of what those guys are like. If Virginia's going to be hiring somebody, which they are, it's going to be sometime mid to late March. So, I mean, clock's ticking. And so those are the top guys now. I've had some people email me some names. One person nominated, and as if this is not my nomination list. To emphasize, this is a list that was handed to me by people who were actually leading the effort. But so So this isn't something Chris came up with. But anyway, I had one person nominate to me Don Staley. I had to make the point to that particular person. I think Don Staley's next job after South Carolina is not UVA men's basketball or any men's basketball at the college level. If she's going anywhere from South Carolina, it's probably the NBA. I had someone throw out Griff Aldrich from Longwood. He's a UVA alum, actually a UVA law alum. I would see now, and he's someone who worked on the staff actually with Ryan Odom when Ryan Odom was the coach at UMBC. I could see a nice tag team there, perhaps. With if Ryan Odom got the job, he could bring Griff Aldrich along to be a guy on his staff. Aldrich has done a great job actually at Longwood, taking them to a couple NCAA tournaments. Last year was a surprise. The team 2 or 3 years ago was a dominant Big South team, dominant team for that league. Last year's team came out of nowhere to win the conference tournament and get the automatic bid. So anyway, he's done a great job there. Feel free to drop names to me. I'll add them to my own running list. We'll probably update this list as the season wears on. We're only, I mean, as I'm recording this, it's December 30th, so 3 months before we're likely to have a new coach in place. But there's plenty of time to vet all these candidates and you know, whatever process. But basically, what I'm doing is reporting on the process. Nothing I'm doing is going to have any sway on anybody, but definitely want to, as I learn more about the process, I'm going to keep people up to date. So, any case, as you're watching this, okay, the UVA basketball team starts ACC play on Tuesday, as I'm recording this on Monday, December 30th. So keep up to date with UVA's with AFB's coverage of UVA basketball here on AugustaFreePress.com.